Religious tourism has increasingly won popularity in recent years. It is identified as one of the fastest growing segments within the tourism industry. According to the World Tourism Organization, an estimated 300 million pilgrims visit the world's key religious sites every year. 600 million trips with religious purpose are taken annually, and approximately $18 billion revenue are generated through these religious activities. Now let's welcome Max to give us an introduction to religious tourism.
Hello everyone. First of all, we should know what is religious tourism. Actually, there is no single confirmed definition for religious tourism. Generally speaking, there are two views. The first is based on the fact that religious followers conduct touristic activities for the purpose of religion, such as pilgrimage. The second focuses on the various touristic activities performed around the resources of religious tourism. While religious travel is probably the oldest type of tourism in the world, anthropologists and archaeologists found evidence that, for example, Stonehenge and the cave dweller paintings had the same function as today's religious sites.
Well, modern religious tourists are more able to visit holy cities and holy sites around the world. The most famous holy cities are Jerusalem, Mecca, and Varanasi. The most famous holy sites are the Church of Nativity, the Western Wall, and the Kaaba. Nowadays, there are 12 vacation segments in the religious tourism market, which are shown on the screen.
It is no doubt to say that religious tourism is an important part of global tourism industry. Well, it has a huge increase in recent years. However, some issues will product by the development of religious tourism, such as political instability, poor infrastructures, and lack policy support from governments. In this presentation, we will offer you a detailed description on these issues, trends, and impacts. In the end, we will also offer some recommendation of management strategy to local community and tourism operators.
Now, let's discuss some major issues in religious tourism development. First of all, political instability has a very negative impact on religious tourism market. Some religious sites are now secure, which largely reduce the flow of tourism in general. Just take the Palestine for example. Palestine is a home to world's three major religions. It is considered as the first center of religious tourism. Unfortunately, Palestine after the 1948 war fell under the Israeli occupation and was exposed to many catastrophes up until this time. All this led to the instability and the decrease in the number of tourists to Palestine, which had become a dangerous and insecure area that reduced the flow of tourism in general. Secondly, shortage in services and facilities also hinder the development of religious tourism. The lack of tourism facilities are the main factors discouraging visitors to travel. Infrastructure such as electricity, traffic congestion, and other facilities are not present in some religious areas. Caesar once mentioned that tourism in Palestine needs hotel, transport services, and local gas which bring economic benefits, while the religious sites fail to provide these facilities. Thirdly, in terms of tourism policy, lack of support from the local government is also a negative factor. The religious tourism is, in some developing countries like India, cannot receive many support from the local government, and the policy of industry is undesirable. They largely ignore the religious needs in the tourism and hospitality industries, although this issue has already been raised by the tourism and hospitality industry sector. Some local governments set complex procedures for the operation of religious sites, or the high tax requirements from the government also discourage religious tourism development. Furthermore, local governments' mismanagement will also obstruct the development of religious tourism. For example, in the current Hajj management system, the authorities set a policy that each pilgrim should be associated with a company. Pilgrims are not allowed to take the services provided by other companies. Or some governments differentiate different pilgrim groups to gain the most interest. These management policies cause dissatisfactions among pilgrims or tourists, which badly affect the industry in the long term. All the above issues will result in the potential loss of tourists as well as damage the religious site's image. Besides the current issues, the industry also witnesses emerging trends in its development. Firstly, there are billions of religious people, some with an urge to travel for that purpose worldwide, which shows the huge potential of that target group. Secondly, the religious tourism industry witnesses an increasing variety in participants ranging from all age groups. Thirdly, there is also an increasing variety of motivations for religious tourism besides pilgrimage, such as cultural learning, education, architectural interest, and the renaissance in community interest in religious sites.
Okay, now let's discuss the impacts of religious tourism on the tourism industry. Well, first of all, the religious tourism has already brought huge economic benefits both to the tourism market and the tourism industry. The tourism market keeps attracting more tourists to the religious destinations. Just take the year 2007 for example. According to the World Religious Travel Association, over 300 million travelers undertake their journeys to the religious sites, and the industry size was estimated at around $18 billion. What's more, the sites with religious significance continue to attract millions of travelers every year, which means that the tourism market will have more customers. Second of all, the large influx of tourists results a boost in the purchasing power, which is beneficial to the local tourism industries. As research shows that the tourists spend about 1/4 of tour budget on shopping, especially for those who come there once in a lifetime. In order to bring a tangible memory of their spiritual experience, they would like to spend a significant amount of money on shopping, which is beneficial to the tourism industry. What's more, the religious have to elevate the load of tourism industries. This is because most tourists usually visit in the holidays or low seasons with attractive prices. One research indicates that there are fewer pilgrims during the high season in summer. This serves the tourist industry very nicely, for it can spread out the flow and load of tourists on the different facilities. Lastly, the religious tourism can bring many new opportunities to the tourism industry, from relic vendors to restaurants, from royal coffers to the church itself, and many will gain profits from the religious travel. However, though the religious tourism is profitable in many aspects, it still has negative effects on the tourism industry. Since the large number of tourists will cause the environmental pollution, the harm of local sacred architecture, all of which will affect the tourist industry. So, proper management strategies should be adopted to regulate the tourism industry.
Okay, now Shirley will give us some management strategies regarding to the religious tourism development, right?
Yes, and I think the management needs to deal with a multitude of visitor motivations and expectations. For making the site more relevant and peaceful, the management should focus on the comfortable environment firstly, and secondly, I think the basic information about the faith should be available. The site should show how the site embodies theology in fixed space through the combination of art and architecture. And thirdly, the visitors should be encouraged to pray or meditate. In this case, we should separate the visitors into two different markets. One is religious tourist market, and the other one is pagan being market.
Okay, so do you think that the same management strategy should be applied to these two different segments?
Of course not. I think the religious tourists are a nature market which require a demand of the maintenance of a sense of place. It is really important to understand their specific needs, and the sites lead offer them old-fashioned level of service and safe, security and comfortable environment. And another group of tourists, vacationers, who have a demand of the holy experience, and the pilgrimage sites should offer a tangible reminder to tourists to take back home and to remember them of the pilgrimage.
Okay, but I heard that some of the current management strategies have been critiqued by experts.
Yes, that's true. For example, some managers prefer to give a site only to a small number of believers because of the physical impacts tourists cause. And other example, and many religious sites encourage donations from visitors to help with site maintenance. But most sites do not ask for a specific donation amount. That is really wrong. And those kind of managements will lose a lot of monies and markets.
Okay, thank you, Shirley.
You're welcome.
To conclude, in this video presentation, we have firstly offered an introduction to religious tourism from its definition to various segments. Next, we discussed major issues and trends in the development of religious tourism from an industry perspective. The issues should be solved by the cooperation of government and the tourism operators. On the one hand, the tourism agents should have a comprehensive control over tourism operations and design secure tourism routes to avoid dangerous places. On the other hand, the government should largely support the development of local religious tourism and encourage the local tourism industries. To follow up, we also discussed both the positive and negative impacts the development of religious tourism has on host communities. Lastly, we offer accordant management strategies to better facilitate religious tourism operators. Thank you.